Let's get right into it. Number 10. Build a fish trap that works while you sleep. Imagine waking up every morning to fresh fish without ever touching a fishing rod. Your ancestors did exactly that. They weren't ordering from apps or hitting up the local grocery store. Instead, they were master engineers of something called a fish weir. You take some flexible branches, weave them into a cone shape, add a few clever twists, and you've got yourself a fish trap that works while you sleep. The design was actually genius. Fish would swim in following the current, get funneled through a series of one-way gates, and then couldn't find their way back out. It's like a Hotel California for fish. They can check in anytime they like, but they can never leave. Some ancient fish traps were so effective that they could catch a staggering number of fish, sustaining entire communities. We've traded these amazing survival skills for the ability to swipe right on a food delivery app. Your ancestors could literally make a river feed them breakfast while they slept. And what are we doing? Tracking a delivery driver on GPS and hoping they remembered the tartar sauce. Number 9. Wield a sling like a handgun. Imagine trying to throw a rock at a target 400 feet away. Most of us would struggle to hit a barn at that distance. But your ancestors were sniping deer with rocks using nothing but a piece of leather. The sling was basically the handgun of the ancient world. 2 strips of leather and a pocket. That's all it took to turn a regular rock into a lethal projectile. These guys could launch stones at speeds of up to 100 miles per hour. That's faster than most major league pitchers can throw a baseball. They were scarily accurate with these things, hitting targets the size of a person's head from the length of a football field. Modern tests show that a skilled slinger could hit with the same force as a .44 Magnum handgun. That tiny rock had the stopping power of Dirty Harry's favorite weapon, but if you tried using one today, you'd probably just give yourself a concussion. These weren't toys. They were serious weapons that took years to master. Kids would start training with slings as young as 5 years old. By the time they were teenagers, they could literally bring down birds in mid-flight. The Romans were so impressed by slingers that they hired them as special forces. These guys could outrange archers, and their ammo was literally lying on the ground. Number 8. Tan hides with brains. Imagine you've just hunted a deer. Today you'd probably just take the meat and maybe mount the head on your wall. But your ancestors used every single part, including the brain. They would take the animal's brain, mash it up into a paste, and literally rub it all over the hide. It actually works. The brain has natural oils and emulsifiers that turn stiff, raw hide into super soft, water-resistant leather. Almost every animal has just enough brain matter to tan its own hide. Your ancestors called this the one brain, one hide rule. They'd spend hours working this brain goo into the hide, smoking it, stretching it, and repeating the whole process until it was perfect. No fancy chemicals, no special equipment. Just brains and elbow grease. The leather they made this way was softer than anything you can buy today. It would stay soft even after getting wet. Modern leather gets wet once, and it turns into cardboard. Brain tissue is rich in lecithin, which acts as an emulsifying agent, similar to compounds used in modern leather treatment. Your ancestors basically invented organic chemistry without even knowing it. Number 7. Preserve food for years without a fridge. Your ancestors were basically food preservation ninjas. While you're throwing out that week-old takeout from your fridge, they were keeping meat good for years. Take the Vikings, for example. These guys would dry fish until it was harder than your ex's heart. They'd hang cod in the cold Arctic wind until it lost 80% of its moisture. The fish became so dry and hard, you could literally use it as a weapon, and it would stay good for years. Meanwhile, you're sniffing that chicken in your fridge wondering if 2 days is pushing it. The Native Americans had this thing called pemmican, a mixture of dried meat, berries, and fat. This stuff could last for decades without going bad. Edible pemmican has been found from failed Arctic expeditions that was over 50 years old. The Inca had a technique called chuño. They would leave potatoes out to freeze at night in the Andes, then stomp on them during the day to remove moisture. After a few days of this freeze-dry dance, they had potatoes that could last for years. Imagine explaining to your ancestors that you have a magic cold box that keeps food fresh, but you still manage to waste 30% of your groceries. They'd probably disown you. Number 6. Butcher an entire animal. Your great-great-grandparents could take a whole animal and turn it into next week's meals without Googling how to cut chicken every 5 minutes. These folks knew animal anatomy better than we know our phone's settings menu. Today, most of us see meat as these neat little packages in the grocery store. The closest we get to butchering is arguing with the plastic wrap on our pre-cut chicken breasts. But our ancestors could look at an animal and see exactly where every cut would go. They knew which parts were good for what. This is for stew. This is for roasting. These bits go into sausage. And they didn't waste anything. The bones went into soup. The fat was rendered for cooking. Even the intestines became sausage casings. Today we throw away about 40% of our food in the US. Our ancestors would look at our trash cans and have a heart attack. They even knew how to preserve meat without electricity. They didn't need freezers. They'd smoke it, salt it, or dry it. Meanwhile, most of us panic when our power goes out for more than an hour because our ice cream might melt. Number 5. Walk ridiculous distances daily. We complain when we can't find parking right next to the store entrance. Well, our ancestors are probably laughing at us. These guys were walking marathons before marathons were even a thing. Your great-great-great-grandfather would casually walk 10 to 20 miles in a day while hunting or trading. And for them, this wasn't some crazy fitness challenge for an Instagram story. It was just Tuesday. They'd walk these distances to trade, visit relatives, or just to get some berries from the next valley over. They did this in whatever weather nature threw at them. No Gore-Tex jackets, no Nike Air Max, just whatever animal skin they had lying around. Meanwhile, most of us today get winded walking up 2 flights of stairs. We literally drive to places we could see from our front door. Scientists actually found that the average modern person walks far, far less than our ancestors did. For many, it's just a few thousand steps. That's like your ancestors taking a short stroll and calling it quits. The really wild part is, our bodies are still built for all that walking. We've got the same legs, same muscles, same everything. It's like having a Ferrari and only using it to drive to the mailbox. Number 4. Tell plants apart before they end you. Imagine walking through the woods with your great-great-grandmother. You spot some delicious-looking berries and reach out to grab them, but before you can pop them in your mouth, she slaps them out of your hand with the speed of a ninja. "That's baneberry," she'd say, probably judging you hard for almost unaliving yourself. To her, those berries might as well have had a skull and crossbones painted on them, but to you, they just looked like a tasty snack. Our ancestors could tell plants apart like we can tell fast food logos apart. To them, the difference between deadly nightshade and wild blueberries was as obvious as the difference between McDonald's and Burger King is to us. They had to learn this stuff because there was no poison control hotline to call when little Timmy decided to make tea from the wrong leaves. They didn't just know what would kill them. They knew which plants could heal them, which ones would make them throw up, and which ones would just give them the runs. It was like having a pharmacy in the forest, except everything was trying to murder you. Today, most of us can barely tell the difference between parsley and cilantro at the grocery store. Put us in the wild, and we're basically playing botanical Russian roulette. They'd be like, "You guys invented smartphones but can't tell the difference between wild carrots and water hemlock." Really, water hemlock is basically nature's way of saying game over. It can kill an adult in under an hour. Number 3. Track like a predator. Imagine walking through the woods and spotting a single bent blade of grass. To you, it's just grass being grass. But to your ancestors, that blade of grass was like a neon sign saying, "Deer went this way 3 hours ago." These guys were like the original CSI team, except instead of fancy UV lights and DNA tests, they had their eyes and decades of knowledge passed down through generations. They could tell if an animal was injured just by looking at how deep one footprint was compared to others. They could spot a broken twig and tell not just what broke it, but how long ago it happened. Your ancestors could follow these tiny clues for days, sometimes covering 20 to 30 miles while tracking a single animal. They could tell if the animal was male or female, young or old, and even if it was pregnant, all from its footprints. They could even track in the dark, using their hands to feel the ground's temperature where an animal had stepped. A warm print meant the animal just passed by. They could tell what time of day an animal would return to a specific spot just by studying its routine for a few days. It's like they had Google Calendar for wildlife. Today, most of us can barely find our keys, let alone track a deer through miles of wilderness. Number 2. Start a fire with sticks. Rubbing 2 sticks together is way harder than you think. Your ancestors are probably laughing at you from the afterlife. Those survival shows where someone makes fire in 30 seconds are pure Hollywood magic. The reality was way more brutal. First, you needed the right wood. Not too wet, not too soft, not too hard. Get it wrong, and you might as well try starting a fire with wet noodles. Then came the pain. By painful, I mean blisters that would make modern gym calluses look like baby skin. They'd have to spin a stick against a board for 10 to 15 minutes straight. That's 15 minutes of non-stop spinning while your arms feel like they're on fire before the actual fire starts. Imagine doing the most intense arm workout of your life, except if you stop, your family freezes to death. They had to do this in all weather conditions. Rain meant you better have a dry spot and backup materials. Wind meant eating smoke while trying to protect your precious ember. Most modern attempts fail because people give up after a few minutes. Your ancestors didn't have that luxury. It was either make fire or join the frozen mammoth club. Your ancestors could make fire with sticks, but they also had arms like tree trunks and the patience of a stone. Meanwhile, you get frustrated when your phone takes more than 2 seconds to load. Number 1. Hunt a giant with a pointy stick. Imagine facing down a creature the size of a 2-story house, with tusks longer than you are tall, and all you've got is basically a tree branch with a sharp rock tied to the end. Your ancestors did this for breakfast. Literally, they did this to get breakfast. These guys would wake up, grab their pointy sticks, and go stab an angry mountain of fur that could step on them like an ant. And they didn't have guns, just sticks. Really sharp sticks, thrown with incredible force. They'd track a mammoth, then work as a team to separate it from its herd. Because the only thing crazier than fighting one mammoth was fighting several of them. The hunters would surround the mammoth, taking turns jabbing it or throwing spears. It was like playing tag with a furry bulldozer, except if you lost, you didn't just get tagged, you got turned into a human pancake, and they couldn't afford to mess up. These hunts could last for days. If the mammoth got away, that meant no food for the whole tribe. Today, if we mess up at work, maybe we get a stern email. Back then, if you messed up, you became Mammoth Toe Jam. This wasn't some rare, desperate thing. This was their regular grocery shopping. While we're stressed about self-checkout machines, they were out there playing deadly hide-and-seek with woolly skyscrapers. So next time you're feeling brave because you tried a new flavor of chips, remember this: your ancestors were out there playing Dodge the Death Tusk with nothing but pointy sticks and pure audacity. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.